Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Raw Life Health Show. I wanted to make this video because there's so many people out there that are confused about what diet is best to eat and how they should be eating. And those of you that watch my videos, you're not really confused because you understand that foods, the living foods, the raw foods are the ideal foods for our body. But there's all these gurus on the internet and all these people that talk about what's best for us, but they all have something different to say. So everything can't be best. We have to understand that, we can all be wrong, but we can't all be right. And some people say, well, for my situation, this is best, or for me, this is what's best. Well, what's best for the human body? What's best for our cells and our organs? And there has to be something for everyone, for every liver, for every kidney, for every heart, something that's best for it. A lifestyle that's best for it. And we could look at the scientific data. We could look at the studies and all this stuff. But the studies and the data are going to be based on usually what people are doing, or at least what they say they're doing. And either it's what they're doing, which isn't the best, or what they say they're doing is they say they're doing the best, but they're not. And it's hard to be convinced by certain called studies when it doesn't involve you, because it's like, well, I don't know what people, I don't know what people are doing in the privacy of their own home, but I know what I'm doing and I know the results I'm getting. And some people hear that and they say, well, I'm eating a carnivore diet and my results are wonderful because I feel great, I'm stimulated, I have a lot of energy, I've lost weight, and so on. But we have to look at the long term, what's going to be best for us. And for me, when I look at my diet and think about the long term situation or the big picture, I don't just think about what I ate and how I feel now, because there's something called stimulation. So I could drink a cup of coffee right now and feel amazing. Somebody could smoke crack and feel amazing. But there's an up and then there's a downside to stimulants. I don't want to live on stimulants to have to feel okay or feel good in life. I want to have a consistent energy that's always going to help me feel amazing. Always. And an energy level that's great. I don't want to put on weight and lose weight. I don't want to have this type of lifestyle because it's not healthy, big picture, long term for my organs to feel great and not feel great and so on. And I recently made videos interviewing people about what people are doing and what people are suggesting long term. And in some of those videos, people are saying what's going to happen to you when you're older based on what you're doing now. And from a science standpoint, we could say the studies show that people that smoke are going to get lung cancer. We can say that people that eat this type of diet or these foods in their diet have been known to live longer than people that don't. But I'm into history and I'm into the past, not necessarily just the future, but the past to dictate the future. And what I see is when they say the oldest person that's ever lived in the world, and I think the recording is maybe 117 according to the official records. But I take into account and I believe the word of our Creator. I believe the Bible. And in the Bible, there were people living much longer than 117 years old. There were people living much, much longer. And I don't know why some people believe in the word, or they say they do, but they don't think about or believe that people lived that long in history. They account the things in the Bible as scriptural, but they don't take into account the history of scriptures when it says somebody lived that long. I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of years, and we have the capability. Where did the capability stop for us to be able to live hundreds of years like they suggest or like they say in the Bible? Where did that stop? And for those of you that don't believe in the Bible and creation, you believe in evolution, Why can't we evolve to live longer and not less than we have in the past? Either way you look at it, we have the capability to live longer than we're living now, where the average lifespan might be 70 or 80 years old. And people are getting diseases at younger ages. And people don't have the great energy that they had during the scriptural times. And then I look about, well, what were the people eating back then? And when did the lifespan start to decline? Well, Adam and Eve were put in a garden, and they were put in a garden that had, remember, a garden that had fruits and vegetables and herbs as the medicine, greens as the medicine. That idea should never have changed. When they added animals and animal products and processed food and all the other stresses of this world, what happened? The lifespan declined drastically, and it continues to do so. With all the science and technology these days, we don't have cures for these particular diseases. More people are suffering now from diabetes and cancer than ever before in the history of man. Why? Because we've gotten away from our original diet of fruits, vegetables, plant foods, nuts and seeds, plant foods, greens and the green herbs, plant foods. And we've added all these other things to it. Now, I grow fruit trees, and I love to see the fruit growing on the tree. And I can tell you the requirements for the highest quality fruit and for the tree to be very productive. You want to select a good variety that's known to do well, but also you want to select a tree and plant it. But once it's planted, you want to give it some things for it to thrive. And the human body is not much different than a tree in terms of what it needs to survive. For a plant to survive and be very productive in its fruit giving, it needs water, sunlight, fresh air, and the correct cleansing, or we could say pruning, to keep the tree clean, and it's going to thrive. It's going to thrive. And some people will add the fertilizer to say, oh, it needs nutrients. Well, the sun is its nutrients to a degree. It gets what it needs from the sun. It needs that sunlight to produce that fruit. The fertilizer or the extra things you add to it are extra nutrients if there's a problem. And man will rely on drugs and chemicals. But the nutrition or the nutrients that we need, our fertilization, yes, should be the sun and the air and all these things, but that's where the food comes in. So our fertilization for our body should be the fruits and vegetables, the nutrition that comes from fruits and vegetables and plant food, and the nutrition that comes from other sources leaves our body with a lot of waste left over that we have to get rid of. So if you put a poison on a tree or inject a tree with poison, it can kill the tree. If you put the wrong type of fertilization onto the tree, it takes things out of order, and you could literally kill the tree from the ground up. And that's what happens when people are eating things that go beyond the fertilization that our body needs for good health. We only need fruits, vegetables, and nuts and seeds to thrive. That's it. And we could do it, and we learn to do it in the best correct amounts that's reaching our goals for the lifestyle we live. And another thing we need that the tree might not need is to be active and to move around. But we have the capability of living a lot longer. And we need to simplify, not make things complicated. And we could thrive. So this is why I choose to live a life of the model of the tree. The sun, the fresh air, the cleansing of keeping the tree pruned, and just living off the what our Creator provided us. And the fertilization that I use for my body is the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So this is a big part of why I'm on a raw vegan diet, and I suggest you to be also. Let me know your comments and questions below on this topic, and I'm going to be doing a lot more videos discussing the different people I meet and what they talk about, and why they feel they need to add extra stuff to accomplish things that we don't need this extra stuff. Okay? Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great day and great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.